No matter your age, your plan for retirement can start today. From the News Channel 5 Network, this is the Retirement Report.
Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host, and this morning I've got a great show in mind for you. This one is based on a book that was written by Stephen Covey, famous author. It was called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It was an international bestseller, selling like 25 million copies in 40 countries. And the second habit in the book is one we're going to talk about and spend most of our time on today. And it's called Begin with the End in Mind. And it's reminded me so much, even on my book in 7 Steps to Financial Freedom and Retirement, steps 1 and 2 are about beginning with the end in mind. All right, it's about starting your foundation, but it's also about thinking we're setting that foundation for a solid future. So one of the things that Covey asks in his book are questions such as, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I love that one, okay? So we think of, well, I'm already grown up. Well, not really, right? What we're talking about, of course, is when we grow up into retirement, and we have those next 20 to 30 years in retirement, what are those years going to look like? All right? He goes on, are you who you want to be? And this is a great time, you know, for a lot of folks in retirement. They've been so busy taking care of so many others and so many things that it seems like maybe being on a little bit of a hamster wheel. Now they're able to really focus in, maybe for a couple, on the relationship, on what they want to be for the rest of their lives, what they want to do, maybe doing some things that they have postponed while they take care of raising a family and preparing themselves. So, what do you want to be was one. Are you where you want to be? And this is a big one, because if you're not where you want to be, you know, making certain adjustments. Well, this is the way, when I work with clients. Just yesterday I was working with a couple, for instance, and we're looking at where they're at now. We're gathering up some things, and we're seeing some issues with regards to tax planning, where we can improve their situation, reduce their taxes. We're looking at some issues that we can resolve for them that are going to help save them some money, help them save more money, and make sure that they're going to have the life they want in retirement and be able to do the things they want to do. Well, that's a big part of planning. It's about putting all this in order. Now, in their situation, they're probably about 5 or 6 years out from retirement. And this is a very, very critical time, the 5 years before retirement to the 5 years after retirement. And we're going to talk about that this morning, why it's so important and what about that makes it so critical to your planning in terms of what's going to happen in retirement. Now, Covey went on. There was a quote here that I really loved, and it was, if your ladder isn't leaning against the right wall, every step you take gets you to the wrong place faster. All right, and this is it. If your plan, your current plan, is not moving you in the right direction, or you don't know really what that end in mind is, then you're just moving further away from potentially your goals. So one of the things that we do in my office is we help people put that ladder in the right place. In other words, I show you, based on your current plan, where that's going to take you, and I show you some ways that you can move that around, if you will, change your plans a little bit now to some of the things you may be doing that'll get you where you want to be. And this, again, in the second chapter, Beginning with the End in Mind, Covey suggests you should begin each day, each task, or each project with a clear vision of what you want the result to be. And this is so critical. If you think about it, you know, what do you want your retirement to look like? Do you want it to be one of struggle or one of ease? One of worry or one of peace of mind? Do you want to be able to do the things you want, or feel like you're having to do the things just to get by that you must do? One of possibilities. Would you like to be able to help people? Okay, or do you want to leave that person and unfortunately is reliant upon the help of others? These are all choices that you can make today, all right? And we're going to show you how to do that in a moment. With a very clear vision of what, so again, you begin each task, and this goes with your retirement planning, with that end in mind, a clear vision of what you want the result to be. So you get in mind, what do you want to do in retirement? What are the kind of things that are important to you? And then you should relentlessly pursue that result until you finally make it happen. And to do that, it's a matter of, sometimes it's not that people, it's not that they don't want to do the right things, it's that they maybe don't know what the right things to do might be. Or they don't have that really defined vision or target to where they know, if I do exactly these things, I'm going to get exactly what it is I want. So we're going to help again with that when we do planning. We can take a page out of Covey's book when it comes to planning for your retirement. Maybe it's time to ask yourself, what do you want your retirement to look like, and what are the things you need to know and to do now in order to make that happen. Another important question to ask yourself ultimately is, what do I want my money to do for me when I retire? See, this is the other part. When you're working towards retirement, you're building up those accounts, right? You're putting it all away and you're not touching it because you're living on your wages. When you get into retirement and all of a sudden you now need to start taking money from retirement, do you have a plan for that? Okay, you've had maybe the plan, hopefully, to where you've been putting it away. And we're going to talk about some ways you can improve on that, of course, as well. But then also, when it comes time to taking money out, even a more critical part to it. So, what do you want your money to do in retirement? Making the right money, or excuse me, making the right amount of income, or getting the right amount of income from your funds, of course, is critically important. And then some other things that I want to share with you, and this is what we're going to do. This is what I do with folks when they come into my office. So this week, and in fact yesterday, I think I had back-to-back appointments. So I think we had like 5 in a row. Very busy day. And this is a typical week for me anyway, but one of the things that I find when folks come in is that there's a lot of similarities here in terms of what they're looking to accomplish and the concerns that they have. And when we're doing planning and we're helping them put their plan together, we first gather up all the information, all right? We determine what they have for income, what they have for expenses, what type of assets they have, what liabilities, if any, what type of debts, what goals they might have as far as, do they want to, you know, things they might be doing with children or grandchildren, or do they in fact have some maybe commitments that they've made or helping right now with their children. I've had a lady in earlier, and one of the things that she's doing is, you know, her son has gone through a tough time, so she's been helping him while he gets back on his feet. She's been paying his mortgage. She's been helping the family, and she's been able to do that because of some of the planning that we've done with her over the years. Others we've got in that come in, and this, by the way, isn't unusual, and you've got to think of this. Again, do you want to be that person that can help your children and grandchildren, or the one that's relying upon them? It's all a part of planning. So we're going to help make that easier for you. And we're going to do that by offering up this week a retirement analysis. All right, so for the first 10 callers, if you'd like, some people, maybe you've been, you know, you've been good at making money. Maybe you were a good saver, and maybe not so good at managing the money in terms of making sure that it's going to do the things you want in the future. Manage a career, raising a family, trying to enjoy your life, have put your retirement plan possibly on the back burner. So having no plan at all, or having no retirement strategy, this course is a recipe for disaster. So you can fix that right now. Here's how. If you call my office, all right, for the first 10 callers today to my office, the number is 376-5325. You can get a free retirement income analysis. Now, I normally charge between $500 to $2,500 to do these type of plans. On some larger states, it could be as high as $4,000 or $5,000 just for the planning aspects. All right, but you can get it done at no charge if you're one of the first 10 callers to my office at 376-5325. And we're going to, you know, when you do this, here's what's going to happen. We're going to gather up some information, all right? You're going to find out, did you know, for instance, that there are 81 different ways to take your Social Security? Right? For a couple, there are literally 81 different ways on how you can take Social Security. Do you want to find out which one of 81 are the best ones for you to make sure you're going to maximize that benefit? Do you know, we talk a lot, it's not just what you make, it's what you keep. So do you know what you're paying right now as far as fees and expenses on your investments? All right? Because between sales loads, fees, expenses, and taxes, that can really take a lot from your returns, and that leaves you very little towards your goals. So find out how to keep the most of your money through this retirement income analysis. You know, one of the things that comes in right now when the markets have had a nice run, and they've had a nice run now for about 5 going on 6 years, well, in that situation, it's kind of like when the money's flowing in and you're making more than you need, you don't maybe pay as much attention to expenses, to all these things I just mentioned, like sales loads, fees, expenses, taxes. It's just going to be a part of, you know, well, I've got plenty of coming in, it'll take care of itself. All right, well, the reality is, though, when the markets drop down, those things can really take away all that you've gained and more in that if you're not paying attention to those. So if you want to know exactly through this retirement income analysis, we're going to take a look at your investments, your portfolio, and we're going to be able to tell you what kind of charges. Again, I had another couple in yesterday. One of the things we looked at, one of their investments alone, I think they had about $100,000 in a mutual fund. They were looking at a charge of $5,750, $5,750 up front out of their investment, okay, meaning they only had about $94,000 left of their $100,000 that went to work for them. And then they had ongoing annual fees and expenses that came out as well. Is it any wonder that how difficult it is to gain as much? When you see what the markets are doing, all right, when you see that the S&P is up 20% or 25% as it has been in recent years, when you see that type of thing, and then you look at your portfolio, are you really analyzing and seeing? You might see it going up and thinking, I'm doing okay, but do you know what you're actually making and how it relates to the market? One of the things I'm going to share with you is an article that I came across from Sir John Bogle. He's the gentleman who started Vanguard. We're going to talk about, as I love to, in fact, one of the areas is, and I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt said, you know, learn from the mistakes of others because you can't live long enough to make them all yourself. It's looking back at the history, all right, of the markets, of the economy. There's so many rich lessons to be learned that can help you in planning. And Bogle, with him, we're going to go over in this article looking back over the mutual fund industry and how it was back then, 50 years ago, and how it is today. All right, we're going to get into that and how you can use this to your advantage as soon as we return here on the Retirement Report. Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, you're welcome to give us a call, by the way. There's a number on your screen, 737+737-7587. If you'd like to call with any questions or comments. And with that, we'll go right to the phones and speak to Jack. Jack, welcome to the Retirement Report.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. How can I help this morning?
Well, the question I have is I came across an article the other day that was kind of saying it wasn't a good idea to pay off your mortgage if you had that option.
Right.
And I'm curious to understand the pros and cons of that.
Sure.
My mortgage is sitting at about 5%. To pay it off would be about 20% of my net worth, and then I'd have no mortgage. Mm-hmm. And obviously, with returns being so low right now in general, it seems that, in effect, you'd be making 5%, which is the rate of my mortgage,
sure, on
your money by paying it off. Mm-hmm. So that's the logic I'm thinking of, but I'm not sure if that's the best way to think about it.
Now, I mean, I think that's an excellent line of reasoning. Now, let's take it a step further. So, one, as you mentioned, you're paying 5%. Could you refinance? And if you could refinance, which, you know, you'd probably be looking at a rate maybe around 4%, possibly even below 4%, depending on the term of the loan. So question one, very well put, is what am I paying on the money that I'm borrowing? All right, now the next question would be, how much am I earning on the money that I've got invested? So in your investment portfolio, what would you say your average return is?
Yeah, that's a good question that I don't have a good answer for.
Okay, an investment analysis, and this is what we do in my office. When clients come in and they present their portfolios to me for the first time, we do an investment analysis. We go back and we look at the historical returns that they're actually getting on the funds that they have. And we're able to tell them not only what they've been earning, because a lot of people don't realize what they're earning. They've never broken it down. They don't recognize how much, as I was talking earlier, the sales loads, fees, and expenses are reducing their returns. They're seeing on the news in general that the market's going up. They see that when they look at their statements, do they go down through and itemize, right? Do you look at every little line, or you just kind of go, here's where it was the last time I got my statement and here's where it is today? And if
well, I'm more one of those people that you mentioned in the setup that, you know, I'm making a good living, I save at a good rate.
Right.
So I don't really pay close attention to it. So I'm actually in need of doing that kind of analysis, but a variety of things in my personal life have always knocked that off the plate when I try to get it to the top of the list.
There you go. Well, hopefully we can make it easy for you. Like I said, call the office and we can get you in and help you prioritize that. You know, this is, and I've talked to others, Jack, about this, and there was a study done that said that people spend more time planning for their vacation each year than they do for their retirement. They spend more time planning for that 1 week or 2 weeks off than they do for what could be 20 to 30 years of their life. So it is critically important. And here's the other part that you might, and I don't know how much you have, but just let's use the number for every $100,000 that you've got saved. If you're missing out on 4 or 5% return because of sales loads, charges, expenses, and taxes and the like, that's $5,000 a year that's costing you. Right. So if you
but back to the mortgage question, is there a downside to paying off your mortgage early?
This is where it comes in again. It's making the most of your money.
Right.
All right. So here's in terms of a downside, the key, again, it's the simple equation you came up with at the front.
Yep.
Is how much am I paying, how much am I making, and you need to know what you're making to see if that makes sense.
Oh, I see. So you basically want to see which side of the equation you're going to get a better return on.
So let's say I go out and I refinance my mortgage and I can get 3.75% and I can lock that rate in for, say, 15 years.
Yeah.
Guaranteed is not going to change, 3.75. As you very astutely pointed out, we are at historically low interest rates. Are they going to stay historically low? And the answer is no, and the only reason they're low now is because our Federal Reserve, our central bankers, are keeping them low, artificially low. If left to their own, all right, if the market was allowed to operate in as a free market would normally, we'd be seeing about 5 or 6% on CDs right now. Okay, and this is according to Dr. Ford over at MTSU. He did a study for a think tank out of Boston in which he did this analysis, and this is a couple of years ago. All right, now the Federal Reserve is starting to stop or ease up on the buying of treasuries, and as they do that, then we're likely to see interest rates start to rise. All right, so this is one of the things then to take in mind. On my investment side, so if I can, again, go back, if I can get 3.75 and I can lock it in for 15 years, and let's say I'm earning right now 5% on my investment portfolio, okay, which is a pretty moderate return. Conservative to moderate portfolio would do that. Now, if I'm then going to be seeing that go up over those same 15 years, then I'm already making money on my money, and I'm going to continue to make money on my money. So as you said, if 20% of my portfolio, it's sitting there in cash, I could pay it off at any time, and by cash I mean it's in an investment portfolio that is readily liquid and I can pull it out anytime and pay the mortgage. So it's not like I'm at risk in some way.
Right.
It's just a simple matter of arithmetic from there, of math. If I'm earning more on the money...
It might make sense to do some kind of a hybrid, because obviously the third element is cash flow. So depending upon the amount of principal to be financed, if you wanted to go to a low interest, say 15-year mortgage, you might want to pay down some of the principal so that you don't impact your cash flow negatively, and then keep the balance on the investment side.
And on your investment portfolio, speaking of that, are the returns that you're making, or are the monies in the investment portfolio, is it in a retirement type account where there would be tax consequences to pull it out?
No, no. As far as the money I would use to pay it down, no. There there is money in my 401k, but I wouldn't touch that to do this.
Okay, so one last part of the equation then, as you mentioned about cash flow, imagine again, I've got a set payment, and I can pull money out of the portfolio that's earning more and be making those payments as well, and in the end, by doing it that way over a 15-year period, I'm going to have a balance left in the portfolio even if I was using the portfolio to make the payments.
Right,
So,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So it's a matter of whether if I can take it out of cash flow to pay it, that's allowing me to save more, that's a plus, and earn more on my savings. But even if I had to take it from the portfolio because I'm earning more, I'm going to end up with a balance at the end where if I took it out now and paid it, of course I'm done.
So this is really a classic spreadsheet analysis problem.
Pretty easy stuff, you're right. And I mean, I say easy when you said spreadsheet, automatic. If you're used to and comfortable with spreadsheets, and you're in the minority of those that are, then yes, this would be a great way for you to be able to see it. It's what we do with our clients when they come in.
All right, well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jack. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, that was a great question. This is one of the things when it comes to doing an analysis or doing, when we're looking at overall on funds, and this kind of question comes up all the time with folks. Should I pay off my mortgage? Should I not pay off my mortgage? And that's how we weigh those kind of questions. And there are others that come in about life insurance and other parts of their financial life. Should I do this or should I do that? We do the analysis, we compare the numbers, and the answer usually becomes pretty obvious. All right, well, we're going to get into, when we come back, there's this great article. It's an interview of Sir John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard Funds, and the title of the article is The Train Wreck Awaiting American Retirement. All right, there's some great information in here about investing that I want to share with you, and we're going to get into it as soon as we come back here on the Retirement Report. Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, I was talking to you about, just before the break, about the article, Sir John Bogle, The Train Wreck Awaiting American Retirement. Well, before I get into this article, there's something I want to share with you, and that's how you're going to, and this pertains to management of your funds. All right, so first off, it's about how will you generate income in retirement. All right, when the paychecks stop coming in every 2 weeks or 1 week or monthly or whatever it is, and with today's low interest rates, which are forcing retirees to take on more risks than they maybe should be taking, then there's a really very real problem we see every day. So what's the answer? All right, well, there's no one silver bullet. It's a combination of many things working together. One thing's for sure, you'll need your retirement savings to generate income in retirement, and that requires a totally new strategy. So here's a simple and easy way to take the first step right now, okay? This is what's right, what's wrong. What do I do next? Well, what you do next is you call my office at 376-5325, and we're going to help you with a personalized retirement income analysis free of charge. I normally charge $500 to $2,500 to do these analysis. We're going to allow the first 10 callers to get that analysis at no charge. All right, this is a simple way for you to get your plan on track. And anyone who calls the show will receive a complimentary, again, personalized retirement income analysis specifically for you. You're going to learn, I mentioned earlier, there are 81 different ways a couple can take Social Security. We're going to show you which and help you determine which is the best way for you and your spouse to take it, or for those that are single, what the best way for you to take it would be, because there are about 20 different ways for someone that's single to take it. So if you call, you're going to find out the best one for you. Do you know how much you're paying in terms of fees, expenses on your investments currently? You know, it's not just what you make, it's what you keep. And between sales loads, fees, expenses, and taxes, you know, are you getting the most? How much of that is going out? 4 or 5% maybe a year, possibly more, all right? So we're going to show you how to get the most out of your investments through this income analysis. And here's something else to keep in mind. It's called sequence of returns, and this is so critical. This is, you know, when you're saving and you can just let it ride, if it goes up and down, you know, which it will, the volatility of the market over time, you can just ride it out. However, within 5 years of retirement, from the 5 years before retirement to the 5 years after retirement or into retirement, this is the most critical phase when it comes to sequence of returns. It can mean the difference between being able to maintain your standard of living and quality of life or spending your retirement years struggling just to make ends meet. All right, so we don't want you to do that. Call my office, 376-5325, and we're going to show you how you can protect yourself against some of these dangers that are out there. Now, let me explain this a little bit further with this article from John Bogle. And by the way, again, you're welcome to call 737+ 737-7587 if you have any questions regarding your portfolio or your retirement that you'd like to get an answer to. Or again, call my office at 376-5325. You can call there anytime. You can come in and see me, and we can help you with your questions in a private setting. Now, this is the first actual mutual fund. So Sir John Bogle, he was asked in this interview, and it was kind of interesting. You know, he started out, says, you know, covering some history about the mutual fund industry. And I love that. I love history, and I love the fact that when I look back at and see how the mutual fund industry was, and I mentioned even in my book back in the, when you go back to the 1980s, it was something, I think it was like 500, I don't even know it was that many. It was somewhere around 500, let's say, mutual funds that were in existence at that time, compared to, and I think it's in around 30,000 mutual funds today. So incredible what's happened in the industry over the last 30 years. Well, it's interesting also to hear it from Sir Bogle's standpoint, Sir John Bogle, because when going back for him, he's got an even bigger look on history here. The first actual mutual fund was called the Massachusetts Investors Trust, and it was started in 1924. Okay, what makes the industry go is the common sense behind it. All right, so in other words, what makes mutual funds so attractive to people? One, diversification. All right, here's a way where I don't have to go out and try to buy a bunch of individual stocks, because if you're looking at in particular blue chip stocks and talking $50 to $100 or more per share, how many can I afford to buy, and how diversified can I be? If I try to buy the 500 largest companies on the, you know, that make up the S&P 500 index fund, for instance, well, I may just not have enough money to do it, but I can go invest in an S&P 500 index mutual fund with very little money. So that would give me then diversification. That allows me to get 500, a piece of 500 companies where I might not be able to do that buying them individually. So this is a very underrated benefit, as Sir Bogle said. Now, number two, efficiency. All right, this is the ability, again, through that, the way that mutual funds work, that you're able to get a certain level of efficiency there. Number three, and in particular for those days, going back into the early years of mutual funds, relatively low costs, especially compared to today. That's one of the things that has changed, unfortunately, to the negative. Costs have gone up dramatically, and this can really hurt you. Number four, and as he puts it, I always put this last, is management. And this is a key phrase. Listen to what Sir Bogle said about this. John Bogle says, because management cannot add value. And yet this is one of the myths in the stock market today, is that somehow the manager of those funds is going to be able to give you an added value to where he can make you more money than if you just bought the market by investing and letting him handle your money. Well, again, as Sir Bogle said, management cannot add value. But people somehow feel that this is the case, all right? They feel more comfortable when they feel like management is looking after their investments. Now, here's some other things that go into this. Today, as he put it, there was a time when he looks back, he was talking about at that time the Wellington Fund. He says when he joined the firm in 1951, it was the only fund they had. One fund, imagine, all right? When you look at today, when you look at Fidelity and Vanguard and how they have hundreds of funds, and you look back then, he was in a firm, Wellington Fund, one fund. All right? It was the only fund they had. We lived and died with the Wellington Fund. It was a fund that we wanted to take good care of, and we knew what it was doing every minute of every day. Right? you're focusing on this one thing, you can really focus in hard. All right, today all that has vanished, as he said. These private investment managers, trustees if you will, have been replaced. Now keep in mind, again, back in the early days, when you had just that one fund, when you had that sense of a fiduciary, of the importance of taking care and putting your investors' interest first and foremost, how that's changed today. All right, these trustees, if you will, have been replaced often by giant financial conglomerates that bought into the fund business, or by fund managers that could see the profitability in it, what's in it for them, that went public and had public investors. Of the 50 largest funds, I think the number is about 6 that are still privately held. And then there's Vanguard, which is held by its shareholders. Now, here's the other part. All of a sudden, instead of one fund that we're looking after as trustees, we're in the marketing business. So now the big firms, including Vanguard, have 150, 250, 350 different funds under one management. People cannot possibly know, the directors cannot possibly know, the management cannot know. You cannot track 300 funds or even 200 funds or 100 funds. It's all of a sudden become a marketing business. So we need one sector for the market, one for growth, one for value, one for emerging markets, one for energy, one for healthcare, and so on and so on and so on. So we respond to the needs of the market, what people are out there shuffling around trying to figure out ways to beat the market, basically, and we lose focus on serving the investor rather than serving ourselves. So to be truthful, meeting the needs of the marketplace is a very different business than putting the needs of the investor first. So the less choice, the better. Choice is your enemy because you choose based on one thing, past performance, and past performance does not recur. And you also start to get in the marketing business very extreme kinds of investment approaches. All of a sudden you come up with these crazy ideas of ways to beat the market, these schemes and formulas, the dogs of the Dow as an example, is one such thing, and it goes on and on. The reality is it's about buying the market, all right, being as diversified as you can, buying a worldwide marketplace, in fact, and that you want to keep your costs minimal. And you do that through indexing, and you do that even with index funds, the least expensive would be institutional index funds. These are no-load funds. These are going to be funds where you can, in fact, put together a portfolio. And the ones that we use in my practice, for instance, these are academically researched. They have been back-tested, and when I say academically researched, this starts with the work of Dr. Harry Markowitz, and he won the Nobel Prize, in fact, for his work on equities and his research in the markets, and how basically determined that by putting certain asset categories together, stocks and bonds, for instance, that you could reduce the volatility while getting the desired rate of return. In fact, then what that means is you could literally take less risk and get a bigger return. All right. Well, that work was furthered by Dr. Eugene Fama, who won the Nobel Prize last year. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about Dr. Fama's and those that worked with him, what they added to Dr. Markowitz's work, and how we use that free market portfolio theory today to get you the best returns with the least amount of risk. So join us here. We'll be right back on a Retirement Report.
Our hair affects how we feel about ourselves. If you have thinning hair, NeoGraft is your answer. NeoGraft is a new breakthrough in hair restoration. Bacon MD offers NeoGraft technology and skilled artistry to give you natural-looking results. Unlike traditional techniques, NeoGraft doesn't require scalpel, meaning no unsightly scar.
I was so embarrassed by my hair and didn't want a scar. NeoGraft was the perfect solution.
Call today for the look you desire.
Interested in ways to save money on gas and transportation expenses?
Are you concerned about Middle Tennessee air quality and your family's health?
And we invite you to watch Air Care every Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock on News Channel 5 Plus with Williamson County Mayor Rogers Anderson and Debbie Henry,
along with transportation, energy, and environmental professionals.
Air Care every Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock.
I'm Michael Ponce. For nearly 20 years, I've been helping people who've been injured on the job. They're often scared because the only way they know how to make a living is now threatened and potentially gone forever. Sometimes they have trouble getting the medical help that they need and may even be getting pressure to return to work before they're able. Despite workers' compensation reforms in recent years, there still are laws to protect workers. Call us or visit PonceLaw.com. Ponce Law, justice for all.
Don't miss I Wanna Be, Music City's next star, the show for unsigned artists. The first Sunday of each month at 7:30 p.m. on Channel 5 Plus. The best of the best unsigned artists may be one of our next stars.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, we've been talking. I was sharing with you some things with Sir John Bogle in his interview about investing, and I talked to you. I was getting into about how you can use the academic research that's out there and how we use it with the design of portfolios. I'm going to also, I want to offer up to you again the ability to come in and get a retirement income analysis in my office, and a part of that will be an investment analysis of your current investments and showing how they compare to the model portfolios that we utilize. You know, if you're like some people, maybe you've been very good at making money, but not so good at managing that money. You know, as Jack called earlier, and he said, you know, he's just taken the time to figure out. So again, when the markets are up, you're not paying attention to the expenses and stuff as much, and yet that's costing you money each and every year that can make a huge difference over time in giving you a bigger portfolio, a bigger nest egg for your retirement when you need it. And when those paychecks stop, that's going to be extremely important. But between manage a career, maybe raising a family, trying to enjoy your life, maybe you've put that retirement planning on the back burner. Maybe you know it's just been a lower priority compared to the other things that seem to keep coming up for you. But having no plan at all, having no retirement strategy, of course, that's just setting you up for failure. So again, beginning with the end in mind. What do you want your retirement to look like? You can get a retirement analysis where we can help you answer those questions. All you need to do is be one of the first 10 callers to my office. And again, folks, for today, for over the weekend when we repeat the show, just call in. We'll take care of you. The first 10 callers, 376-5325. I want to help you with this so you can fix those things. You can fix it right now by giving us a call. You'll learn how to get the most out of your Social Security, how to get the most out of your investments, how to minimize your taxes, how to, in fact, make sure that you're going to have a guaranteed income that's going to take care of you and your spouse if you're married, for your lifetime without ever having to worry about running out of money, to make sure you're going to have that life of ease, not one of struggle, that you're going to have peace of mind, not a life of worry, all right? Not just getting by, doing the things you must to get by, but one of possibilities, doing what you want when you want. So this is the other part, and in not being someone that's dependent on help of others, like maybe your children or grandchildren, for instance, but being that person that's able to help them because of how well you've planned. We're going to help you with all of that through the retirement income analysis. So again, be one of the first 10 callers, 376-5325, and we will help you get started on the path to a good retirement. Now, We're going to talk about the article here with Dr. Bogle, or excuse me, with Sir Bogle. All right, now this is one of the things that was kind of interesting. I'm a registered investment advisor. As such, that means I'm a fiduciary, and a fiduciary basically means I have a legal responsibility to put my client's interests first and foremost. What's best for them first and foremost in all our dealings. All right, so this is one of the things that John Bogle talks about. When I joined the business, as he put it, it was a profession with elements of a business. And by profession, he means a trust that has the interests of the consumer, the client, in mind, as opposed to a business that has its own interests in mind. So, and as he said, it was a profession with elements of a business. Today, the mutual fund industry has become a business with elements of a profession, and too few elements at that. So, and that's what he's exactly saying, basically, is that business has an obvious reason for existence, and that's to earn a profit. And that's a profit for the management company. It doesn't take a genius to know that the bigger the profit of the management company, the smaller the profit for the investors, because they're both based on gathering assets and raising fees. So you can see with the mutual fund industry in general, when you're looking at mutual funds in the broker-dealer industry, and I was a part of that industry for many, many years, this is one of the downsides here is you've got these huge sales loads. I mentioned before, $100,000, theirs goes over $5,000, maybe $6,000 up front of your money that you're paying just in a sales load, plus in addition maybe 3.5% to 5% in fees per year between management fees, 12B1 fees, and the like in your funds. These are listed right in the prospectus. You may not be aware of them. You may not have analyzed just how much these are dragging down your returns, and it's one of the reasons that the S&P 500 index outperforms over 90% of equity mutual funds consistently. And of the 10%, it's actually, I think, closer to 7% of equity mutual funds that outperform the S&P, all right, it's not the same ones. In other words, every once in a while, someone gets lucky and beats the S&P, whether it's a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year. It's just by chance. It's just like flipping a coin. You know, you do it so many times, and there might be a sequence where you might run heads 5 in a row. Okay, does that mean all of a sudden you're an expert on how to flip heads? It's the same with these mutual fund managers. They may get lucky by just having the right basket of stocks at the right time, and they beat the S&P, and then they market like crazy, all right, to tell everyone about it, to draw in those monies to make those fees, okay? Best way, if you're looking at investing, goes back to the model portfolios, as I mentioned before the break, was that, as I mentioned, was Harry Markowitz, who won the Nobel Prize with his original research in the equity markets, which went into putting together certain asset categories to help reduce volatility while increasing your return. And he developed what was known as the efficient frontier. And through that, he showed how by doing this, you could get a better return, and compared it to the S&P even in terms of how this might work, how you could take and reduce volatility. So this work was furthered by Dr. Eugene Fama, Ken French, and Rex Singfeld and others. And what they did in their work was they took and developed, Markowitz's work that is, and developed it further in what we call the 3-factor model. They determined which factors were most important in terms of the asset categories, stocks and bonds, for instance, blended together, large companies and small companies. A lot of you may have mid-sized companies and may be told mid-caps are important. They're not when it comes to portfolio design. All right, growth and value companies. This is another area that you need to understand how these work, because when paired together properly and in the right weightings, it can be a huge difference not only in increasing your returns, but as I said, reducing the risk or volatility in your portfolio, which is going to make it easier for you to attain your goals without having to worry about all of a sudden a huge drop and you get scared and you get out of the market and now you're really behind. All right, so there are some other ways that this can be used to your advantage as well. And when it comes to income, there's some things that you can pair with these that can be of value. And we're going to talk about those when we come back. So join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report. Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I am Hank Parrott, your host. All right, before we get into this next part on going back to the portfolios and how this can benefit you, this kind of relates, you know, when you're, and I'm going to offer up to you again the retirement analysis. So, and this goes to how you're going to generate income in retirement. So we're going to make a special offer to the first 10 callers to my office for the free retirement income analysis, 376-5325. This number, now, by the way, on the retirement income analysis, I normally charge clients $500 to $1,500 to do that, and we have, and on larger cases, we may be in the $2,500 to $5,000 if we're getting into a lot of accounts or a lot of complexity. So here's the thing, you can get this for free today. All you got to do is call in, all right? So whether you're watching that today on over the weekend, be one of the first 10 callers, you can get that free retirement income analysis, 376-5325. Now, one of the things there that goes into this, when you're, you know, when you're, as far as generating income in retirement, when those paychecks stop, one of the things that's happening today because of the low interest rates are retirees are taking on more risk than they should be taking. And I see this all the time. I've had clients come in just this week a number of times where we get into an analysis of their portfolio and we're looking at their bonds and we're seeing, you know, longer duration bonds. And I've had folks come in and they say, you know, I'm a little nervous about bonds. I know interest rates are low. I know they're going to go up. And I know that, you know, that principle that as those interest rates go up, my bonds are going to become less valuable, and therefore I could lose money. If I needed to sell some of those bonds for income, I would have to sell them for less than what I paid for them. All right? Longer duration bonds, lower rated bonds, maybe even junk bonds. I look in portfolios and I'll see a bond mutual fund, for instance, or even a balanced mutual fund that has bonds in it, and I'll see percentages that could range from 10 to 30 or 40% that have bonds in them that are 20 to 30 years in duration. Now, understanding the principle of a bond, I'm taking out a bond. That means I'm loaning a company my money or a government entity for 20 or 30 years, again, depending on that duration. And at the end of that time, I'm going to get my money back. But I've got my money tied up for that long. Now, I can sell it on the market, but if my bond's paying 4%, and the interest rates go up and someone can go get a bond paying 6%, who wants to buy my bond? The only way they're going to do it is they're going to buy it at a deep discount, meaning a lot less than what I paid for it, and I'm going to lose money. All right? This is the type of risk that people are taking on. Another is in lower rated bonds. I saw junk bonds in many portfolios as well. They're not even aware of it. They're in the mutual funds. These are bonds that where someone might default and you might not get any money. You could lose all the money that's invested in those. So again, it's so important to reduce risk. I mentioned again the model portfolios, the work done by Dr. Fama, who won the Nobel Prize last year in developing the three-factor model. One of the things we do is I went through this, and these are the portfolios that we use in my office, all right? So if you're coming in, I'm going to show you the three worlds of investing. I'm going to show you the safe world, all the guaranteed things like savings accounts, checking accounts, CDs, money market accounts, treasuries, savings bonds, fixed annuities, all of these things where you get guaranteed, where you cannot lose any money, all right, but unfortunately they don't give you enough return to stay ahead of inflation and taxes. Then we're going to talk to you about the portfolios as a way if you're going to invest in the market. This is the safest way to invest in the market where you can get returns that can keep you ahead of inflation and taxes, and historically have always done so. All right? Time is the biggest caveat to this. Understanding you have to, this is money that you have to be able to leave in that market for a certain amount of time, which means then we have to address the third world, which is one of income. How do we generate income in retirement? Now we can do that through fixed index annuities as an example. This is a way for us to get a bigger return on our money, but without any risk to losing that money, to get those same guarantees and then be able to get a guaranteed income that will go up, maybe even better than inflation, over our lifetimes. And that could be for a single person, that could be over your lifetime. For a couple, that could be for both of your lifetimes, guaranteeing you an income stream for the rest of your life that will increase over time to protect you against higher inflation and higher taxes. So these are the things when you come into my office, when you take advantage of that retirement income analysis, these are the things we're going to provide for you. We're going to show you all of these tools. All right. Again, as a registered investment advisor, I have a fiduciary responsibility to my clients to put their interests ahead of all others. All right. I'm looking at the best of everything. I don't work for a company. I'm not in that broker-dealer system. I don't have a boss. I'm not working, whether you're talking an Edward Jones or Raymond James or any different BDs out there who then dictate what it is you're going to be doing as a representative for them. I don't have to worry about that. I'm able to look in the wide world of the best of what's available out there and bring that to you, set forth options for you. The goal is to determine what your needs are, right? Show you options of ways to basically take care of those needs and let you choose the one that you want and then help you in implementing that. That's what we do. That's what we do in my office, and that's the kind of information we bring to you each and every week here on the Retirement Report.